I hate DC fans. You see this picture right here? This has been a thing. It's existed for so long, yet it's still relevant today. And even if it is in a different form, what I'm talking about is lanterns. Now, when it comes to DC fans, what I'm really talking about is the casual fan, because what we've seen with Green Lantern so far is that it is the #1 show or just piece of media in the world right now. In the same tier as The Odyssey, Reacher, Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, it's literally ranked #1. It's in that spot. So people are showing up to it, but the so-called DC fans are not. There's this middle sect just trying to be different, or at least they're claiming that it's not a Green Lantern show or what it should be, and it disrespects the franchise. And what they've been doing recently, Lantern so far, for the first 2 episodes at least, it is really good. I've been enjoying it, and I think it can be on the same tier as the Penguin. But of course, that's neither here nor there. That doesn't really matter. It's going to be in the same ballpark if they keep that momentum. And it's a Damon Lindelof show. Chris Mundy is a part of it. They've showrun some of the best shows in American television, so it would be pretty dang hard and ignorant, if you know anything about them, to doubt their abilities. But before we get too far, I want to kind of label the 3 main branches of fans when it comes to Green Lantern and how I've been quite literally seeing them play out. I know the majority of people do enjoy the show, of course. If you see the ratings, we know that's the case. But the amount of takes I've been seeing on TikTok, there's a lot of opinions on there, a lot more casual takes being sprinkled in, and a lot more just uneducated hate being spewed all over the place, not enough people being there to check them. So these 3 fans, if we want to start off at the beginning, at the tip of the iceberg is, well, the new fan. All of that is new stuff to them, and they're really just absorbing it as it's getting brought in episode to episode. And from that perspective, I think Lanterns is doing a phenomenal job. They do the backstory and lore so well and accurate to the point that it just grabs people. I know a lot of exposition in shows, it feels like they're prolonging what could have been done very quickly through visuals or just shorthand sentences here and there. And for a lot of people, visuals is the only way to make exposition matter and just grab their attention. But due to the very fantastic performances by the main cast, it goes very smoothly. It feels like a hot knife cutting through butter, and I'm seeing a lot of new, emerging Green Lantern fans learn about the Manhunters, how the ring works, how does the lantern get its power source from, where is it even stored, and all of these little things. I just love that. As a DC fan, you should want to see your favorite character get good PR, no matter what the show ever turned out to be. If it's quote-unquote ashamed of its comic book roots, which it really isn't, episode 2 really showed me that these writers read way more Green Lantern comics than the people who are claiming this isn't a Green Lantern show. So for me personally, I think they're on the right track. What they're doing is they're starting off grounded, getting into that common audience space. For example, the Yellowknife community, if you've ever seen that show, that is the type of audience that would come to Lanterns from the previews, and then slowly but surely they bring us into that sci-fi genre, and then we start seeing the traditional Green Lantern aspects, and it wasn't even slow. By episode 2, by the very end of it, we were already getting into the good stuff, the stuff that we have been waiting for. And then we have the hardcore fan, the people that actually read the material and know what's going on. Somebody, I don't want to say like me, because I don't think I'm the greatest or the biggest Green Lantern fan, even though Hal and Kyle are my top 5 favorite characters in DC. But to be fair, I haven't read a lot of the pre-crisis stuff that I really need to read, which this show in particular does take a lot of inspiration from. Of course, having the 1 ring per sector, having a lot of these backup Green Lanterns, stuff like that are very intrinsic to that era. Of course, a lot of the privilege speak comes from Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and these are just throwbacks, and it feels good because this era, from what I've heard pre-crisis, that is where the bulk of Hal Jordan, the great Hal Jordan comics, come from before Parallax. And then of course we have the Geoff Johns stuff, the Grant Morrison stuff, and things of that nature. However, when it comes to these fans, I'm telling you, we're weaving threads and we're seeing things that were done in the comics, just done either in a different way or exactly the same way, but through a different lens and context. Most of us, even though this isn't a definitive lock, I think we really understand through the excerpts of Hal's backstory, through the little descriptions of his character, and of course what we've seen through the show so far, what they're probably gonna do is set up all these pieces for Parallax. I've seen a lot of people say, why would you do Parallax? It's too early. They only have 8 episodes, but mind you, these episodes are basically an hour long, and they have really good pacing. They go through a lot of things very quickly, but it feels seamless. It doesn't feel like a breakneck pace because they know what they're doing. The best modern Hal Jordan stories happen after Parallax, after he's reborn and resurrected into a body where he's a lot younger. Of course, the stress is taken away from him, the gray recedes, the fear is removed from his body, and he has his full brown head of hair. No, it's never too late to do something like this. What they're trying to do is kind of speedrun their way there, but they're doing it very precisely so it doesn't feel like that. To get to the good stuff, as I've said before. You also have Anton, who a lot of people are saying is Atrocitus because all the lore that he gave on the Manhunters, that makes it a lock. We can see the threads and where they're going, and how this is very similar, if not identical, to some of the plot threads we've seen in Geoff Johns' Green Lantern, which for a lot of people, that is the bar, the magnum opus of the entire franchise. Even if you agree or disagree, a lot of us would consider it top 3, bare minimum top 5 Green Lantern runs of all time. We're seeing everything come together, and even the hardcore fans, they switched up on the show. Me personally, I always thought it was going to be good because never bet on Damon Lindelof to produce a bad show. You're just going to look stupid. But a lot of people, they've admitted that they switched up because now they can see the vision. They've read the books, and all the plot lines are there. However, what I love about the story is that we do not know what's going to happen next. They're taking liberties, but the structure is still there. What we love about these characters and the lore, it's still in tow, and it's ready to go. But then there's the third fan, the casual fan, who just hates beyond belief for no reason on TikTok, maybe on Twitter. Twitter, you see the verified accounts, you can see the people that are rage baiting, so I'm mainly talking about TikTok, and these are the people that spurred this video today. They're the reason why I created it and why I was thinking about it so much before I even decided to press record, because I've seen a lot of things where, say for example, your favorite creators, like a Variant Comics, and they have theories, these very well thought out theories, and they post it, right, and they're saying this is where the show could go. But then I go to the comments and it's like, no, James Gunn didn't give us the Green Lantern show that we want. I think he quite literally is, but a lot of people aren't seeing it, and a lot of them are not even watching the show to begin with, because they are speaking about these characters in such weird ways that if you watch the show, you wouldn't be saying it, if that makes sense. Like, their takes aren't accurate at all with what's actually being put on screen. For example, when I go back to this Atrocitus take that I just said, which is a very common take in the community right now, and I've seen people in the comments say, why is he human? Why does he look like that? Atrocitus was never human. He is not Atrocitus. If he was, this is CW Lanterns. And it's like, you're already telling me that you have no idea what you're talking about. Even the way that they're clamoring, because of course, these people are watching clips or theories. The Manhunters, for example, let's bring up another thing. They think that these guys are Martians, and this is completely valid if you're only somewhat vaguely familiar with DC lore. That is completely fine, but the way that these guys act, it's like we're supposed to take them at their word that they're actually Green Lantern fans. So if that's the case, how do you not know what's happening? Actually, how would you even have Martians on the mind after being a proclaimed DC Green Lantern fan, after the way that Anton explained that these guys are synthetic beings who take on other bodies to blend in, which has happened in the comics before, mind you, and he did say that they are the predecessor of the Green Lanterns. You still didn't get it, and you're using that as some way to attack the show. You don't deserve to have an opinion. I don't even know what to say. If you don't know what the Manhunters are, you can't talk about Atrocitus. And again, in the previous episode, they literally say there are 14 different alien species that can mask themselves to any sort of detection and can look exactly like a human, and their biology will become pretty similar to said human, and they can be killed like a human, even though, you know, bullets normally would do more than enough to kill most normal alien species. But again, in the first episode, William said that he had a very secret purpose, and he doesn't want to be found by the Green Lantern Corps and be, you know, revealed to the entire organization. He wants to be out of view of Hal Jordan. Why would he walk around, Atrocitus that is, in his giant red form if he's trying to find a Manhunter on Earth? the same Manhunter that destroyed his entire sector and group of people. That right there is Atrocitus's entire backstory and lore. It just wouldn't make sense for him to go on a rampage and destroy everything. How being a lantern would stop him immediately. But again, it leads to even more opinions just by stating the obvious. Some people are saying they ruined the Red Lanterns because they act too calm. They're not exactly how they should be. So now they're trying to go from a character perspective and not from a visual perspective. These people still don't know what they're talking about. They're hating for no reason because they're thinking that Red Lanterns already exist. They're thinking Atrocitus spawned into the DC universe with a Red Lantern ring in his hand. Atrocitus was not always a Red Lantern. He started off as an alien named Atros with a wife and kids, until eventually losing all of that and then forming his own Red Lantern Corps. You do not even know that Atrocitus was the person who, spoiler alerts, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you've been warned, killed Abin Sur. He was the one who spoke about the Blackest Night prophecy before he ever had a red ring on his finger. If there ever was going to be a creation of a lantern ring though, we would have to look at Sinestro. While he might have a Cordian or a yellow ring in this continuity right now, he doesn't have a yellow lantern core. None of that exists right now, so why would a red lantern exist? But you might ask me, so what would that have to do with a red lantern existing? And while it technically doesn't, I guess, it could still be out there in play, it wouldn't be very prevalent at all, and it wouldn't be a part of Atrocitus. What I'm saying is that Sinestro, if we're going to look at the chain of events, is in prison. If he already had his own Lantern Corps, they would have busted him out. Why is he still there? He killed a Guardian. He was going against the Corps. Hal Jordan was the one to stop him. This wasn't something that seemed to take place like 10 to 15 years ago. It seems very recent. But going back to what I've said previously, they have all the pieces set up if you are a comic book fan. Sinestro created his Yellow Lantern Corps, everything proper, in his prison cell. That was where the sparks really started to fly. This is where Sinestro is right now, and I'm not saying that's where it's going to happen, but I'm saying if they wanted to, it could happen. Sinestro and the Sinestro Corps War, that big event, the battle between the Green and Yellow Lanterns, that must take place as the inciting incident for the War of Light to happen. For all those other Lantern Corps to come out of the woodwork, and for the Blackest Night prophecy to occur, the Sinestro Corps has to be founded first, but none of that is in play. They're building it up in front of us, in front of our very eyes, in front of the common audience's very eyes, and they don't even know what these other lanterns are, but it's keeping them intrigued. The fans that are very into this are also intrigued. They set up everything, the mystery, very nicely with the Manhunters, with what's happening with Hal. What is John Stewart really? And they're doing all of this, and they're also pleasing both sides of the spectrum. But the middle spectrum, who think they know everything, are the only ones who are upset. They are the vocal minority, a small minority that don't really deserve to have all this hate within them because they don't know anything. What are you angry about if you don't understand? The lore isn't an encyclopedia in your brain. If it was and you're so mad, all means, it's fair game, but you don't. You're mad about something you don't know about. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The loudest people are the ones who have the least to say. I don't know why this is always the case. It really just always is. I don't know, I guess they just want to be a part of the discussion. But when it comes to said discussion, the writers themselves, they understand the lore. If you look at the podcast that they do where the writers of each episode come in to speak about it and their thought process upon each episode, the writing process, you can tell that they're mentioning a lot of Green Lantern lore and specifics that only somebody who reads would know. The fact there was a pocket dimension to introduce the lantern, and of course that weird carnivorous plant thing that Hal Jordan just randomly has. But what really stood out to me is that the passcode to get to his lantern was the term Mogo doesn't socialize, and I saw a lot of haters just say, oh, that's just common ball knowledge, Mogo is a lantern planet. No dummy, it's the phrase, Mogo doesn't socialize, you don't even know what that means. If you did, you would be giving the show more props. You're looking at it at face value. You don't understand that it's not about the planet itself, It's the fact that Mogo doesn't socialize as a theme, as an idea, is very much an inside joke for the Green Lanterns, and that being his password is very telling. The reason why Mogo doesn't socialize is that it was something said by Tomar Ray when speaking to Arissa, who was at this point a rookie Green Lantern, and he used the term Mogo doesn't socialize as he's kind of like giving her more information on who Mogo really is. This was, or at least the term itself was used in the very first appearance of Mogo in the very iconic Alan Moore story, which coincidentally was the issue where John Stewart revealed his identity to the world. It's very interesting and I guess kind of fitting too. But the reason why he doesn't socialize is because he can't go to Green Lantern meetings. If he ever did at the speed that he goes to kind of get into Oa's orbit, his gravitational field would completely destroy the home of the Green Lantern, so he has to kind of be by himself alone, or he has to come in at very dire situations. It's not just a name drop. If that's the only thing you picked up from that sentence, again, is not just that you don't really know ball, that also really tells me you yourself, proclaimed Green Lantern fan 679, very interesting numbers I pulled off the top of my head there, you are not privy to the most common inside joke in Green Lantern history. You're a poser. A lot of negative DC fans are exactly like this, and it's just not necessary. Why do you want this universe to fail? It's never like that on the Marvel side, at least normally. And these people are usually the same people who love or like the Moon Knight show. I don't know exactly why. Loki Season 2 is 1,000 times better, but for some reason, people hold on to it, but get this, it is not comic accurate in the slightest. It doesn't have the same tone. The alters and their personalities are completely different and all over the place. They're switched. But see, you guys like visuals. It visually has a Moon Knight costume. It visually has the alters and the switches and the personality changes. It visually has Khonshu. It visually has Mr. Knight. All of you guys who hate on Lanterns and liked Mr. Moon Knight over here, a lot of you don't care about plot or acting or story. What you care about are the core tenets, and are they there? This is how we get slop, because they're able to just throw you visuals and you just eat it up. All you want is power scaling, the fights, the mentions, the everything that goes with Geoff Johns and his entire run. I understand wanting to do that, but you want to completely one-to-one accurate adapt this run. You can't do that. They look at comic books as storyboards, even though that has never been proven to be the right choice, especially for live action. And even then, you can't adapt Geoff Johns' run without doing parallax, without doing all of these prerequisites the show is trying to set up that you guys don't know about. You don't even know how Parallax came to be and how he died, how he got resurrected, and how everything occurred. Saying this is a dumb idea, they should have started off with Hal being young. I'm sorry to say that if they did this, they wouldn't be able to do any of the Geoff Johns stories, because that is really where the peak starts, other than of course his time as Parallax and the Spectre itself. If you want prime Green Lantern stories, this is what needed to happen. And speaking of adaptations, I caught my tongue. I was just about to go into a whole rant and segment about people saying that 2011 Green Lantern was supposedly better than current Lanterns because it's more, or the feel of it, is more like what they expect a Green Lantern to be. This is TASM 2 revisionism all over again, and I don't even want to talk about it because it's just a very petty and weird way to approach a TV show, and just the entire idea of a Green Lantern in general. You don't exactly have to go back to something that is considered horrible even by the main actor themselves to use as ammunition against the show. People only look at you weird. In fact, I am taking pity on you. What I think about this show is that they could be doing all of these things. They could be setting up Green Lantern Rebirth, the Spectre arc, the Parallax arc, all of these things that objectively are only going to push the Green Lantern franchise in a good direction. And in my opinion, if this is the way they're going, they already have smart people in the office right now. They've mentioned all of this in their podcast, not that they're going to do it, but it's on their mind. They know of these things and how it looks, right, to the audience and how they want the story to play out. Yes, it could have been cool to have 3 to 4 or 5 seasons beforehand, to really delve into Hal Jordan as a young protagonist before we got into, say, Parallax, but you guys are literally banking on the DCU surviving 10 to 15 years before we get into the good stuff, and that is not viable. And from a business model, you don't want to do all of that before we even get to a Green Lantern movie. The criteria, what all of us should want, is for them to hit all the good story beats and the storylines, but for them to do their own original creative thing. What they're doing right now is fascinating, interesting, and very creative, and the fact they're doing it on an HBO Max TV show, this gives them a lot of time to develop their characters, and again, is very unorthodox because you'd consider the most obvious option would be a sci-fi Star Wars-like movie, because the Green Lantern, even to this day, is a very well-known property. But what they're doing, it's a very inspired take that a lot of people should be more on, especially considering the quality that they showed us in the first 2 episodes, and the fact that the reviewers saw the first 7 episodes and they've said that it maintained its quality all up until then. People are considering it a 9 out of 10 through those 7 episodes, so I don't really know what to say here, but yeah, there has never been a better Lantern discussion period than right now. I've been enjoying this show a lot. The problem is that a lot of fans aren't even giving it or willing to give it a chance. If they were just on for the ride, not trying to review bomb and things of that nature, and mark my words, if they do end up actually doing all of these things that people are theorizing and claiming that they do, you're gonna look really stupid like a bottom tier bum at the end of this ride. However, if the show does go off the rails, and I will look at myself very critically if that does happen, I'm gonna look crazy too. But again, from what I've seen, what the reviewers have said, they've done a very good job, and this is coming from fans, reviewer fans, who love and fell in love with Hal Jordan before any other Green Lantern. And I know the little plot twist at the end of episode 1 has a lot of people turning off, but I'm telling you, there's a lot more than meets the eye. There's no need for all of this hostile negativity between literally the same fandom. We're not doing a Marvel vs. DC, it's DC versus DC. That should never be the case. Interpersonal or interconnected fandom fighting only makes the entire bridge, the structure, worse, right? Everything is a bit more flimsy, and if we don't have any faith or hope that our universe is going to be good, what's going to happen? It's probably not going to be good. Thankfully, a lot of people, at least recently, are getting back on the train. They've won back a lot more people, and we're going in a good direction. Clayface needs to be good, not really, but Man of Tomorrow certainly needs to be good, and that People vs. Gorilla Grodd show needs to show out just like this one. If that happens, we're here for a very bright future. Year 2, we've seen a little bit of stumbles, but MCU, they only had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2. 2 of those movies aren't exactly really good, but still, we don't look at the MCU in a certain light despite that being year 2. It wasn't exactly the most successful, but they're building their path, and it takes time. Either way, what do you think about the show? What do you think about the direction of it? What do you think about Hal Jordan and his fate, John Stewart, and what they're doing with his character? Leave it down in the comments down below. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know when a new video goes live. And yeah, see you all later. Take care. Deuces. Peace.